okay, Aiyuk. Let's hit Aiyuk here. I mean, he wasn't at practice today. He was at practice earlier this week. What's going to happen? I don't know. John Lynch is going to meet with the media on Wednesday. I don't know if what he's going to say in regards to Brandon Aiyuk, but I do want to play this because this, to me, I love the one thing I love about Steve Young is it seems like Steve Young always has the right perspective and he always has a good perspective. And he went on. See if I can make this go back here. Let me see. But he went on KMBR and talked a little bit about how Aiyuk. Let me see if I can call this up. If Aiyuk, basically the whole thing with Aiyuk this summer, how it's just they're not getting a deal done, and he wants to be traded, and then he's like, trade me, but then they work out a trade with the Patriots. Like, wait, I don't want to be there. I don't trade me to the Patriots. I mean, God, I don't want to play for that team. So it's like I don't know exactly what is going on with him, but here it is. Here's a little bit of Steve. Let's play this, and then we can react to it. Here it is. A little Steve Young on KMBR talking a little bit about Brandon Aiyuk and his perspective on Aiyuk and his holdout. Here we go. Steve Young, the Hall of Famer.
Nick Bosa was going to set the market. Trent's going to set the market. You kind of get it in a way. It's a bummer. Like, I wish that Trent would have done this earlier, or the 49ers, and I get all that. But Brandon, because of his youth and because he's not going to set the market, yet wants to set the market, says, I want to be traded. And then goes through this, I don't know how to put it, but it was like, bro, like, if you want to tear up the contract and do something big, then you might want to pick, you might want to go the 5th year and go prove it out, like, to make sure that everybody's on board with you setting the market. Or if you're going to ask to be traded, then when they make a trade that works for them, you got to say you're up for it. You don't say, oh, no, that doesn't work for me. Because then it was like, well, what do you want? And so there's been the back and forth that's been very, I don't know. They can get it mended. It's not like they're like broken relationships, but it's stretched. It's strained. And I think at the end of the day, Brandon's now sitting in front of a contract that's probably 49ers have stretched as much as they possibly can. They don't want to set the market. They don't want to do it. They don't think it's the time.
So there you go, a little Steve Young there, kind of summarizing the the Brandon Aiyuk story and this whole thing this summer. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. I think Mayoko said it best when he said, maybe Brandon asked for a trade and hadn't really thought it all the way through. John, you guys talk about this a lot, I'm sure, on the radio. Where are you with Aiyuk and this holdout? What do you think the end game is? Is he going to be here? Is he going to be somewhere else? Do you believe? Are the Commanders going to roll in the 11th hour and figure out a way to get this done? I want to say that he's going to be a Niner, but I get the sense that this thing may be personal and it may not have to do with dollars and cents as much as personalities and who likes who and gets along with who. I don't know what to believe at this point. What do you know about this?
I think there's a couple of things I can give perspective on, but both sides made a mistake. The 49ers are smart enough. They have they have a certain way they do business. And so they think going into camp, they got Kittle done late. They got Warner done late. They got Debo done late. They got all these deals done into July, early August. Bosa's deal got done on September 6th. So that's their deal. Like, we're going to push it. Then when it's up against the deadline, the absolute deadline, which we're way past because it's now less than 2 weeks away. It's 2 weeks from tonight that the Monday Night Football game is. So whether Aiyuk or Williams comes in, they're going to be compromised. So the 49ers waited too long. The wide receiver market exploded. And early in this process, they could have had a 3-year deal like they had with Debo or DK got from Seattle or Terry McLaurin got from Washington. They could have got a 3-year deal done if they would have done it fast, but they didn't want to. So then everybody starts getting paid. And we all know this. The Amon-Ra St. Brown deal was the one that changed everything. He was close. He was picking out a suit. They had a deal done in the $26 million range. And then all of a sudden, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 30 and Aiyuk says, I want 30. Well, I can tell you this, that when Mike Silver said 26 million, that was accurate. The 49ers since then, from what I've heard, have jumped up to 28. And then recently the 49ers even got close to 30. So the number is there. What they're fighting about now is how big's the check? So we saw CeeDee Lamb go today, 4 for 136. He gets 34 a year, but it's not the 34 a year. And it's getting really confusing. What is guaranteed? What is practically guaranteed? It's all this stuff.
Fully guaranteed
Fully
versus
guaranteed.
partial
So
guarantees.
I heard the number 100 million, but I know this, that CeeDee Lamb is getting a check, one of those Happy Gilmore checks for $38 million. I know he is getting that. So that's where the holdup is. If I show up to 49, how big is the check you're writing me? That's where they are right now. The 49ers are frustrated in this way. And it's like Steve said, they're fine. I was on the field staring at Brandon Aiyuk in Las Vegas on Friday night, and he's talking to fans. He's all happy. He's going like a roller coaster ride through this whole thing, which is, and Debo tried to tell him this, and Kittle tried to you can't do that because you're going to be mad and you're going to be happy. You're going to be mad. You're going to be happy. And we've seen that through the whole process, and that's a maturity thing. But where the 49ers are upset is they feel like they get to a point and they agree on something, then they move the cheese. Okay, we'll accept this. Oh, Amon-Ra got a deal. Hang on. Oh, we'll accept this. Hold on. Let's wait until CD gets his deal. Well, there's nobody left standing, dude. Jamar Chase isn't getting a new deal because the Bengals are incredibly cheap, and he's got 2 more years left on his deal. All these deals that are being done for receivers, they had 1 year left on their deal, or they were a free agent in like Mike Evans' case. The Bengals are not doing a new deal for Jamar Chase with 2 years left on his deal. So all the receiver deals are done. So this shouldn't be that hard. You're not Justin Jefferson. You're not CeeDee Lamb, who caught like 130-something balls last year. You're not CeeDee. You're not Jamar, and you're not Jefferson. You're somewhere below that. Should you get paid in the Amon-Ra St. Brown realm neighborhood? Yeah, you should. That's exactly right. There's no more information. I don't know what the holdup is. There's no more information for the Niners. There's no more information for Aiyuk. And as Steve was kind of alluding to there, do you want to play and win or not? You clearly don't want to go to New England. You could have got the money. You don't want to go to Cleveland. Pittsburgh's not giving the Niners what they need. Dude, we are at the deadline. And the frustration here is make a decision. The Niners have made their best offer. From what I understand, it's a good one. And it's in the neighborhood he should be in. And so the Niners are sitting there going, look, if you want us to put dummy years so you can make 30, okay. But they're offering him a big check, and that's where they are right now is how big's the check? And Aiyuk and his side feel like he should be in that upper echelon of those 3. And I love Brandon Aiyuk, and I know this is not easy, I'm sure, for both sides. You're not Justin Jefferson. You're not CeeDee Lamb, and you're not Jamar Chase. So where we put you is right, and that's where they're sitting, and that's where I don't think there's going to be a trade, just like everybody. I don't think there's going to be a trade, but I do know that the 49ers are frustrated. And so could at the last minute, here's the problem, though. Throw Washington back in this. They're not giving it to Terry McLaurin because that doesn't get them anywhere. The Niners never wanted Jahan Dotson. He's too small. He's not going to be able to fill that role. So there's not really a fit there. And the word is Adam Peters doesn't want to give him a first-round pick. So they don't – a second and a third for Aiyuk after all this is not getting it done.
Right. Well, so, and draft picks are going to be a lose. That's a losing situation. You're gonna look Trent Williams in the eye and say, "Hey, we got 2025 draft picks, big boy." He doesn't care about 20.
Well, here's the other thing too, Groove. And again, you know this, and this part of all these things, these insiders is all accurate. When they let Brandon Aiyuk go out and seek a trade, and this is especially applies to Pittsburgh, and they said, "Okay, we'll give you a 2 and a 3. We can't give you anybody off our roster." It's not that good of a roster anyway. I don't know what Pittsburgh's thinking, but okay, we take the second and the third, we shop it around. Nobody wants to give him anything that would be worth Aiyuk. So the second and the third is all fine and dandy. They don't want to wait till next year's draft because they want to win a Super Bowl now. So they shopped those picks around the league and said, what do you give us for this? And the returns weren't great. So the 49ers don't owe him anything. He's not going to play on the 14, which, by the way, Brandon Aiyuk's made $12 million in his career. The leverage to me squarely is with the 49ers. Is Brandon Aiyuk going to miss? So if let's say Brandon Aiyuk starts missing games, and this is why these deals with Trent and Aiyuk are going to get done. Trent could lose up to, he's already lost a few $1 million, but then for every game check you miss, it's 1/17 of your salary. For Trent Williams, that's like $1.8 million per week. And for Brandon Aiyuk, who's made $12 million in his career so far, which is fine, but he'd get paid $14 million if he played on that last year. That's about $800,000 a week that he's losing that you're not getting back. So these deals, I think, are going to get done just because the absolute deadline is not today and it's not next week. It's before the Jets game, and that's when Bosa came in, when he absolutely positively was going to start losing game checks. He came in. So these deals will get done, But then, Krug, the question becomes, can Aiyuk play against the Jets? Can he be effective at all? Can Trent Williams be effective, or is it going to be Jalen Moore? So all of a sudden, and I think you need Trent Williams way more than you need Brandon Aiyuk to win game one against the Jets. But now the Niners are sitting there going, great, we're paying you, but you're not going to be effective. And in Ayuk's case, you're going to have a soft tissue injury now because Brandon Aiyuk hasn't played since they walked off the field in Las Vegas in February. How good could he be
I know.
in 2 weeks?
What are the odds that, he's the odds are high that he's probably going to go down with some soft tissue injury. So it's frustrating. But I mean, obviously, all you think through all the different options, and even if that you could find a trade for him, I mean, you're not going to get fair value, and you're not going to get value this year, and you're inside your Super Bowl window this year, and it's like, hey, just
they've shopped those picks. That's the other thing that
what are you going to get? I mean, Cortland Sutton, that doesn't excite me.
Well, and Krug, here's the thing too. For all the value he thinks he provides for a team, and this is not bashing Brandon Aiyuk, he's earned this deal. And the market where the 49ers screwed up, like I said, is they didn't read the market. They should have got this deal done earlier. So he's got leverage and all those kind of things. But the thing I would tell his agent, because you're not going to tell him this because it would cause a huge rift, is, hey, man, if your guy was that valuable, we would have gotten a first-round pick. We'd have got multiple first-round picks. We'd have got offered a second, a third, and a player. We're not getting those offers. And the reason why, and nobody talks about this, the reason why is wide receiver is not quarterback. Next year, there's going to be 10 more of them that are good. And there was a ton of them. There was 3 in the top 10 that are really good this year. And the Niners, if they could have got up there, would have gotten one of them and said, to hell with Brandon Aiyuk. A team doesn't want to go out and give $30 million to a player and give up compensation when they know damn well that if they pick in the top 15 next year, they're going to get a Brandon Aiyuk or better. The only reason New England did it is because New England is so lacking in talent that they're terrible and they have a rookie quarterback, and they're looking at what Chicago did with Caleb Williams. Damn, they went out and got a couple of receivers and they drafted one, and they got Keenan Allen, and they already got more there, and they got a running back in Swift. Damn, that's what Carolina, same thing. Carolina's going, damn, we should have done that with Bryce Young. So what now New England is doing, because you want to, this better than anybody, you want to draft, develop, and re-sign. Well, the teams in the bottom of the league, they draft, they don't develop and re-sign. So what do? They have to overpay like the Niners did a few years ago for a while. So New England's like, we'll give him 32. We don't have any receivers and we have a rookie quarterback. But he doesn't want to go to a garbage team like that. So there is no perfect deal. And what I would tell Brandon Aiyuk's people is, hey, man, if he was as good as you're making him out to be, like Justin Jefferson would get Minnesota a minimum of 2 first-round picks. CeeDee Lamb would get Dallas 2 first-round picks. The offers for Brandon Aiyuk are exactly what the 49ers want to pay him, which is we'll give you top 10 money, but you're not top 3 money. So stop doing that. Because if we could get that for you, if we could get Justin Jefferson, which is 2 first-round picks and maybe a third and maybe a player, that's what I would give up for Justin Jefferson. But you're not him. So the best we've gotten for you is a 2 and a 3. That's not $35 million a year and an $80 million check like Jefferson got. So get that out of your head. Here's the neighborhood you're going to live in, and it's a damn good neighborhood, but you're not a top 3 wide receiver, and we've offered you nearly $30 million per year, and I don't know the size of the check, but it's commensurate with what these other top guys have gotten. 40 million, 35 million, whatever it is, they'll come to the table with that check. I just think he's got an inflated value of what he's worth.
When he sat down on the Pivot podcast and it came out in that podcast that he was making a documentary about this, I said, uh-oh. Documentary sounds like long drawn out.
Yeah. If you're going to sign the thing early, then there's 2 episodes. I mean, he wants
no documentary. Yeah, there's no documentary. I got one last question for you before we jet. But
on Aiyuk, and then I mean, this whole process, what is your thought of it? Because to me, both sides are to blame. But to me, I think the 49ers have made a fair offer. They waited too long to do it. I'll blame them for that. But at this point, they've made a fair offer, and they're frustrated because Brandon Aiyuk's side keeps moving the cheese. And I always thought it was going to get done, and I still do think it's going to get done, and I don't think he's going to get traded. But nothing would surprise me at this point.
Yeah, I think Aiyuk has always wanted to be a Niner. I think his mom or grandma is a Niner fan. I think that carries a lot of weight with him. He's got pictures of himself as a little kid in Niner jerseys. I think, the biggest bag to play on the worst team, Patriots, don't want to do that. A bigger bag to play in Cleveland, and don't want to play in Cleveland. A bigger bag to play in Pittsburgh, that sounds good. But then, man, watching Justin Fields and their quarterbacks and their offense this summer, it's like, dude, they look
They're not
terrible.
Beat that division with Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Yeah, they're bad. I mean, you want to go there, you're putting your career in your own hands there. And then it's just all these different options of where you can go. Washington makes a lot of sense, but I don't know if it makes a lot of sense for Aiyuk. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense for Washington. I don't know. At the end of the day, I side with Aiyuk to some degree because I think there are factors at play here between the pace that the Niners play, all the weapons that they have at their disposal, how often they run the ball as opposed to pass the ball. Those factors have nothing to do with Aiyuk. He didn't have anything to do with those factors. They all suppress his numbers. And so he's a great blocker in the run game. He's not a diva. He doesn't hold court at his locker every day that he doesn't get the ball. And I just think on a running football team, this guy's your dream guy. And don't sit there and hold his football card against him. When you play the 28th slowest pace, you run the ball more than anybody in pro football, and you've got a million weapons. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with why his numbers aren't more premier. In reality, he's probably one of the most efficient wide receivers and deep threats in the entire league. So I would have paid him, but I understand my feeling with the Niners is that Parag and John and Kyle all report to Jed, and they have their report cards are tied to different things. I think Parag is tied to good contracts and favorable deals. I think, John's about trades and favorable trades and draft choices. And I think Kyle's about W's. And sometimes I feel like they're a little too in their own world. And you know what? You don't have to win every negotiation. And I personally would love to see them get this done. I really don't want to see him trade him for draft picks. I really don't want to see him in Pittsburgh for some backup offensive guard or something like that. I mean, at the same time, I kind of feel like, he should also appreciate where he's at and the team that he's on. I mean, don't you think that the fact that you're on a team with all these weapons means that your longevity in pro football is going to be greater because the ball is going to get spread around to these other guys? Doesn't that have some value? I mean, I think he's forgetting that.
Well, and I think too, and then we can move on from this, but a lot what Steve was saying is, and he's not saying, hey man, you're lucky to be playing for the 49ers, but it's a great organization. He's a West Coast kid. He clearly doesn't want to go freeze his ass off in one of those other cities. He's got a great quarterback situation and a great connection with Brock Purdy, and they can do a lot of great things together. It's just the 49ers have X amount. The one thing, again, that everybody looks at, we got to have him. We got to have him. You're going to start losing guys. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And from the beginning, I thought to myself, is the NFL really valuing this position at this level? Because I know that, look, I like Brandon Aiyuk, but the other debate is Aiyuk or Ward, Aiyuk or Debo. Demo. I didn't say Debo. I said Demo.
And Banks.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to lose guys. So for every dollar you're paying Aiyuk, and I think they should pay him. And they're in a Super Bowl window. Worry about those things later. Brock's going to get done, all those kind of things. But man, you're going to start losing guys. I mean, that's just the reality when you start paying a quarterback. You are going to lose guys. So it's great to get Aiyuk, and we'll worry about next year. But you're going to lose one of these corners. And I think it's probably going to be Ward, and I think they're going to try to keep Demo because he's a little bit younger. But that's why, seeing Renardo Green, and this goes back to the draft picks, Renardo Green having success, Darrell Luter Jr. making plays, because one of those guys is going to have to be a starter. And overall, this all ties to the cap, getting cheap labor that's good labor, which they've done a tremendous job under John and Kyle. And we don't know what's going to happen with Pearsall, but Renardo Green, Dominic Pooney, Malik Mustafa, Isaac Guerrero, Jacob Cowing. I mean, these guys have shown this preseason that they can play. Now, whether they can play in the regular season, that's the huge thing. But if these guys can, and Luter can play, and all these different guys, all of a sudden you can make these decisions and you can lose guys because your front office is getting in cheap, effective labor. And that's where these drafts are becoming more important than ever, because then you can go, okay, we can't keep Ward and Demo, but if we keep one, another guy can step up. That's a massive thing for these guys, because if they're bombing picks, and they got lucky with Trey Lance, but when they start, if they start going downhill, that Trey Lance thing is going to rear its ugly head again, because to me, maybe other than Ryan Leaf, Trey Lance is the worst quarterback draft pick of all time. I mean, dude, what he did against Dallas, those 5 interceptions, what he does, it's like playing Madden and you predetermine your throw. Tony Jefferson got 3 interceptions in that game. He's a veteran that's been around 12 years. Tony Jefferson baited him into every one of those throws, and he just went, this guy's so stupid, he'll never look at the second read. He never did. He just kind of hid and picked it, hid and picked it, hid and picked it, and he was laughing. Like this, Trey Lance, and here's the thing, he has nowhere to get better. He's going to be 3rd string on Dallas. He's going to sit behind Cooper Rush and Dak. Dak's going to get his contract. They really thought that might put some pressure on, oh, look, Dak, we got this guy. He threw 5 preseason interceptions, and all of them were ridiculous.
All I got to say about that, and I love everybody who talks Niners, and I love the entire community. And I'm not going to bag on people because I've been wrong before as well, God knows. But how many people, I mean, all I got to say is if you're a Niner fan and you can have your choice of people to listen to talk about the 49ers, are you going to remember the people that told you that Trey Lance was better than Brock Purdy? One guy is an MVP candidate and the other guy just threw 5 picks in a preseason game.
And they were just bad.
I mean, all I would say is don't forget who told you that Trey Lance was great. Now, I'm a believer that Trey Lance can still develop because I really believe that if you want it bad enough, you can get there. But I mean, it's
can't read deep.
It's a ways away at this